man.
Everybody, welcome to the third edition of the Weekend Dads podcast. Fantasy football is back. Football is back. We think, at least for the time being. But we got a couple guests on here ready for some Weekend Dads draft action this weekend at the Moyer household. We've got Mark on the line. Mark, how you doing today?
Hello, I am Mark. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Hi.
Trevor, first time on the podcast for you. You excited to be on here?
It's great to be here. I didn't doubt that I would have more enthusiasm than Mark, who was a winner, but really doesn't act like one. So really good to be here.
And Blake, new producer Blake, he's taking Wolfie's job as the producer of the podcast. Blake, how do you feel about the promotion, and how do you feel about being on the podcast and hosting the draft for the first time? I mean, biggest week of your life, I assume.
I mean, it's only fitting that I'm part of the podcast hosting the draft. That's going to be the BBBB's year, so, what else can I say?
Well, that's something I don't think anybody's thinking, but we'll see how it goes for this year, Blake. You got an early pick, it looks like, but we're going to talk about our...
It's just like every year.
Yeah, we got a keeper league. It's a 2-keeper league for round value, so I'm going to run through everybody's team and kind of discuss of the keeper options each team has and maybe some thoughts on the draft for this weekend. But before we dive in, I got some notes I thought was interesting from some beat writers. I want to see if that changed your guys' thoughts on their impact on the fantasy football season this year, and maybe something you're going to bump some guys up in the draft for. So first thing I read that I noticed and stood out to me is that this offseason, Russell Wilson taught DK Metcalf how to swim.
Really? That's a report, huh?
That is a true report. Tyler Lockett owner Blake, does that worry you for the chemistry that Lockett and Wilson formerly had and might have shifted over to DK Metcalf, the giant?
I think it definitely hurts his keeper value. Swimming's an excellent cardio exercise. DK was already fast, so, he's just going to get faster. I mean, he's going to have that stamina. He's just going to keep running down the field. It's going to be like Mark playing Madden, just 9 routes all day. Russell's going to air it out.
DK's already a beast.
If we're being honest, 2 people in this chat, this room right now, already think DK can fly. I've never seen bigger DK Metcalf fans than Mark and Jason. And I watch weekly this video of Seahawks fandom, and DK Metcalf is a heavy part of that. Are we going to deny that?
Yeah, but Tyler Lockett's the climax of that video.
Oh, that is true. He kind of jumps off the moon.
Yeah. No one flies like Tyler Lockett, literally.
Yeah, shout out to the Cable Thanos video. That always is relevant, it seems like, in any terms of football news. I mean, I'm shocked to be called a DK Metcalf truther, though I have no DK Metcalf shares in anything that I've done in fantasy football wise. But I'll switch gears after the news. We're also DK Metcalf land and sea beast now, so that's something I'm afraid of. Next one, so Ronald Jones, not known as a pass catcher, correct?
He's not much of a runner either.
Well, he's supposedly a very good runner. This offseason, he worked with a coach. He worked with a coach that would rub his palms dry, so he would learn to start catching the ball with his fingertips and not his palms. So
can you just tell him to catch the ball with your fingertips and not your palms?
You got to change the muscle memory. I mean, that's some in-depth. Like, he's dedicated to catching some passes. Tom Brady loves pass catching running backs. Keyshawn Vaughn's unproven rookie. Draft stock falling every day, it seems. Are you guys on some Ronald Jones now that you know he's going to be catching a ton of passes with his fingertips?
Is he going to be starting on the pup now that his hands are raw?
That was an off-season thing. I assume his hands are not as raw as training camp starts. But
this is an Antonio Brown's foot situation.
Red flag.
He takes it very seriously. I don't know if you've caught his Twitter, but he hears everyone talking trash about him. Ronald Jones.
There's a lot.
And he's addressing it. I mean, he seems relatively confident for someone who has a rookie that apparently is this high flyer behind him. But I don't know. I'm buying into the Ronald Jones hype. I really am. I think that he could be He could lead that backfield. I think a lot goes into it being Bruce Arians, who's really driven to play the veterans over rookies, even though Ronald Jones is nowhere near a veteran. But Keyshawn Vaughn's a rookie, and he could kind of take a backseat for at least a year. I think Ronald Jones has value. Who knows if that'll be how it plays out.
Did Ronald Jones? You were a Ronald Jones guy before, weren't you?
I did draft him in this league. I did draft him. I looked at him last year and did not. But in his rookie year, I thought that he would be something great, and he looked awful. But towards last year, he really did show flashes. You never know.
When?
Look up his. There's a highlight tape out there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think he was
Not
that
very-
bad at the end of the year. But they
Yeah, he
weren't
wasn't.
They weren't a great running team because they were always down, and Jameis would throw like 5 picks the first half. So
That whole offense is
Maybe,
kind of just a big question mark right now. So
who?
the whole offense in general, you really don't know how they're going to turn out. I mean, Tom Brady's obviously going to be throwing the ball, but they have 8 receivers, I think, on offense.
I know of 2.
Say 8 receivers?
Yeah, I only know
mean,
of 2.
I mean, Gronk's at 95 in Madden, so
Well,
you
it's
know,
gonna
big
catch the
year.
ball, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I would.
Bruce
I would
Arians
bet
doesn't
Ronald
use tight
Jones
ends.
catches more balls than Gronk.
Yeah, I would take that bet.
All right, this might be a little controversial to some folks in here, but it's just something I've been looking into, just trying to see how some camp battles work out. But it's day 3 of teams practicing, and today they said another day of Jarrett Stidham looking like the best QB in camp, 3 days in a row from multiple people. I'd say I'm shocked, but I'm not. I mean, they bring in Cam Newton, they bring in Brian Hoyer, they try to take Stidham down. Why is no one giving Jarrett Stidham the props that he's going to be the New England starter this year? And does this news surprise you that Stidham looks a little better than Cam Newton, as some Panthers fans in the call?
So I'll be the first to say that Cam Newton is going to be the starter in New England. I know this is I don't know if there are odds on that. You clearly made them, but there's just no chance. So all right. Actually, I would like to approach this from a different angle. In any other team, I don't think there's a chance that a quarterback like Jarrett Stidham could be that Cam Newton would be beat out. Now Belichick has a completely different way of thinking. He could have this weird faith in Jarrett Stidham. It's just it's going to be. I wouldn't have made a bet because Bill Belichick's so unpredictable. He really is. I don't know I don't know what's going to happen. I think Cam Newton deserves to be the starter. I think he's better than Jarrett Stidham. Does Bill Belichick view it that way? I don't know.
You said you wouldn't have made a bet. Would you have made a bet giving someone else the DraftKings Sportsbook 3-1 odds that Jarrett Stidham will be the starter?
I would have done it. I would have, but that's because of my love for Cam Newton. Not because honestly I would make it and I would be nervous about it. But Bill Belichick's unpredictable.
There's some out there certainly nervous being on the other side of that bet.
Can I read you his stats from 2019?
Yeah, let's hear it.
4
Jarrett
attempts,
Stidham?
4 attempts, 1 interception, 2 completions, 14 yards.
I mean, that could
That's
literally be
Jarrett Stidham?
Cam Newton or Jarrett Stidham. I feel like that could be combined for Cam Newton and Jarrett
I'm
Stidham.
just saying, you know,
So
75% of the time he throws interceptions.
Well, I heard someone in an
Or 25.
argument said an argument against Jarrett Stidham said Jarrett Stidham's got to sit and learn from Cam Newton this year because there's no way he could have learned from anybody else last year. I think
Can you
Cam
say who
Newton and him-
made that statement?
I don't know. He's got a lot of
You know the
numbers in his
Twitter-
username. Not off the top of my head.
Damn.
That's the rebuttal I saw. So we'll see. I think Stidham is going to win that job out.
And
Cam Newton, everything I see is Cam Newton is like dancing around in camp, and he's like Jarrett Stidham made a crazy throw to N'Keal Harry for a touchdown over Stephon Gilmore, and Cam Newton celebrated big time.
Cam
That
is
sounds like a bat.
Cam is motivated, and he has an incentive-laden contract, and Bill Belichick is going to run him into the ground.
An incentive-laden contract that the Patriots don't have to pay if they don't pay him. So I don't know.
I mean-
I think it's interesting. I think it's probably a up in the air battle. I think if Cam was in shape, he would probably win that job. But
he's
we'll
in
see how it
shape.
goes.
Have you seen the
Well, he's
Have you
workout
not seen the
videos?
workout video? I think you're
I
gonna
haven't
go
seen.
Dustin $50.
I haven't seen him throw a football, so
You're gonna have to pay Dustin $50.
that's. Darn. There goes round 4 showdown golf entries for this week. Um, but all right,
Word
let's
flex.
dive into these keeper options. We're going to start off with the last place teams to the first place teams. And Eric was our toilet bowl loser or winner last year.
This will be a quick
10th
one.
place. He's got a lot of options. This might be the hardest one of them all.
He has
Aaron
no one.
Rodgers for a 5th, James White for a 6th, Thielen for a 1st, Mike Williams for a 4th, Kittle for a 3rd, Anthony Miller, Jamison Crowder, Marquise Brown, Carlos Hyde, all for 8th round picks, David Johnson for a 1st, Sterling Shepard for a 7th, and Emmanuel Sanders for an 8th round pick. There's no one in there that is someone I would want to keep.
So the automatic thing you look at is so you see George Kittle in a 3rd because he doesn't have many players that are worth keeping, right? But you honestly want those picks. I would want that 3rd round pick because you have got to fill so many other holes. If you sink it into a tight end with the 3rd round pick, it would make your life difficult. I would more be looking at the 8th round picks than anything, as bad as those are too. But you have got to turn his team around. He's got to have those first picks, even though he botches them every year.
I mean, the 3rd with Thielen is probably a late 3rd. So Thielen with a late 3rd is probably not that bad. And he gives you, Kittle with a late 3rd is not that bad.
Yeah, I
It gives you
think
one of the best tight ends. It gives you advantage week to week over everyone but one owner who has Kelsey.
But it's an early 3rd, correct?
It'll be a
being
late
kept?
3rd. Oh, it is an early 3rd. You're right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
you're basically getting him
Oh.
close to value, but still.
Yeah. That's his. I
That's
mean,
only close to value, besides maybe Marquise.
it's that time of year, guys. It's Jamison Crowder is going to catch 200 balls a season.
On the
And,
sidelines?
every preseason, Jamison
Old
Crowder
hamstring?
gets some hype that he's going to catch a ton of balls, and he's the best receiver in the league.
Crowder's
This might be the
Eric's
year.
boy, though. That's his
I know,
hometown
he-
boy.
He,
all right.
With Butler.
Eric
Go
claims
around.
him.
Who would you keep on this team?
Kittle and Marquise.
Yeah, that's easy.
Kittle
Yeah.
and Marquise Brown. Honestly, if I was trying to get, I guess James White the 6th is probably 3 rounds ahead of where he'll go.
But Eric
Uh,
loves running backs, as we saw from last year's strategy.
Yeah.
I love Bell.
I'm not against Anthony Miller or Crowder in the 8th. I don't
But wouldn't you
think
rather
it's good
Brown?
value, but I don't think it's good value, but it's going to save him his 1st round picks. I think Kittle's fine in the 3rd. I'm betting Marquise Brown probably is a guy I'd probably want to keep at the 8th, probably getting him at value.
I think
Would
we
you-
agree we'll be discussing him first next year as well. So,
It's not looking great at the end of the year, but you never know. Some people just they have 2 good keepers and they just botch all their picks except for one and they win the ship. So
I bet
never know how it
he'll
works
take
out.
David Johnson in the 1st. That just
Yeah.
screams Eric.
I think he traded for David Johnson at some point in the year from Blake.
I need-
Le'Veon Bell for
Yeah.
David Johnson.
Yeah, he traded for Le'Veon Bell, traded away Hopkins, which if he had Hopkins for a 1st, I don't think it would help his keeper situation at all anyways. So yeah, we'll move on to Zaid, who probably has maybe the worst keeper options in the league ahead of Eric, I think.
no chance.
I think
No.
Zaid's
So-
worst.
Duke
Deshaun
Johnson
Watson. Deshaun Watson for a 5th, Fournette for a 2nd, Cohen for a 5th, Odell Beckham for a 1st, Tyler Boyd for a 4th, Ertz for a 1st, Curtis Samuel for a 7th, Breida Tate, Tyrell Williams for 8th, Marvin Jones for a 7th, Antonio Brown for a 2nd, Duke Johnson for a 5th, and Kerryon Johnson for a 3rd.
Ew.
There's probably one guy on that list that I like.
Yeah, so when you look at Zaid's keepers and compare them to ADP, the only 2 players that are actually at value or even close are Deshaun Watson and Leonard Fournette. The rest of his team is way early that he would have to be drafting them basically with an 8th round pick when he can get them way later.
Yeah, I feel like
So-
the strategy is like you got to go Breida, and then one of the other people, so you don't waste your good picks.
How about his Watson? What's Watson's ADP? Probably 6th.
It's round 5, is what I have.
That's not awful. If he's in an awful spot, he's probably taking a quarterback early, anyways.
Why?
You're going Watson and Breida. I mean, you have to.
I mean, what about Fournette? Zayd loves his Fournette, and
You
it's another year.
What's your feelings
I
about
love
Fournette?
I love
Jason.
Fournette. I think he's a. Oh, Jason, go ahead. Tell me your. Yeah, we'd like.
I don't have. I mean, he's got to go against Savino Zigbo and Raipel Armstead every day in camp, and I
Did you
heard it's a
tweet
battle.
the other day that
Bless
you think
you.
about him rushing like 14 times for like negative yards and then finishing with 69 yards?
He did not. He finishes with I think he finished the game with 66 yards and had a long of 69. And it's not the first time that's happened. I mean, so it's not a guy I roster. Zayd has had success. He's made the playoffs twice with Fournette. Why not run it back?
Yeah, he doesn't. Those first few picks are so valuable. He has got to pick Matt Breida, and honestly, if he went someone like, that's the thing with these bottom tier teams that don't have a solid keeper. Those first picks, because like teams like the Chain Gang are going to have like so many players that are released. You're going to have the cream of the crop. So why wouldn't you keep 2 8th-round picks when you are not going to be in contention, but maybe hit on those instead of sinking your money into George Kittle at round 3 like Eric would? But in this case, Deshaun Watson, a 5th-round pick, and Matt Breida, he is not doing terrible. He really isn't.
I don't think he's going wrong with Marvin Jones or
Marvin
Breida,
Jones, exactly.
or
Now, if we go down, you had a good keeper that got ruined by the draft in Kerryon Johnson.
No.
I don't know if it got ruined by the draft.
Kerryon Johnson is literally the worst running back in the league. And
Kerryon
if he
Johnson was
here,
great last year
I'll
until
show up
he
on
died.
Saturday. I'll fight him.
I think it'd also be interesting. Who do you think Eric is actually going to keep?
David Johnson and Crowder.
I have no idea.
He doesn't have
I don't
Crowder,
know.
but
I mean, he has Crowder.
You
oh,
just said
Eric.
Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric. So you think David Johnson? Crowder. Okay, what about Zayd?
I think Zayd will keep Fournette and Watson, and I don't think that's a bad idea.
I think
I
that's
don't think
the
I think the second round
safest.
pick sounds very valuable, but if you look at ADP and like of the top 20 players in ADP, like how many of them are keepers? Probably like 16 of the 20 are keepers in some capacity.
Yeah, I
And
mean, Fournette's
something
right
that's
around
also-
early third, so it's basically going to be, a late second.
Yeah.
So
I still think these early picks are going to be reaches.
the early picks could be reaches, but something that's really important to note is that so far we're 2 in, and I think we've highlighted the fact that they're going to take the earliest is a 2nd-round pick in Leonard Fournette, right? So Leonard Fournette and Deshaun Watson, that's 2 people already that are going to have the best players available in the first round. So you're pairing these players with the best player available in the first round. Who that's going to be, I'm not sure, but I'd have to review my team. But we'll see.
We'll move on to someone that's in the podcast. Producer Blake finished 8th place last year. I think career best finish for Blake. Taking home
only
top 8.
even. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
but-
if we don't count the season you won your championship, then yeah, it is my career best.
So not a lot of good options up top, but we got Devonta Freeman. I don't think he's
Ooh.
on a team, is he?
Nope.
Le'Veon Bell for a 2nd, Hopkins for a 1st, Lockett for a 3rd, Andrews for an 8th, Miles Sanders for a 6th, James Conner for a 1st, Larry Fitzgerald for an 8th, Jalen Samuels for an 8th, Rashad Penny for a 7th, and then James Washington and Cameron S. Newton for an 8th.
Cameron, what?
S.
Jay,
J.
I mean, you're going to give him a middle name. You better get it right.
I mean, I had a 1.6 shot in that middle initial, right? Felt good coming out. So I don't know, Mark. What do you think? If you had this team, I know you like Rashad Penny.
I mean, if this is my team, taking probably Lev Bell and maybe James Conner. Pittsburgh backs.
And he's going to draft like 6 more running backs with his other
Yeah,
picks.
I mean, give me all the running backs.
I mean, Freeman could be signed any day, and
Yeah, but
could be
that's a
in
waste of a
shape to
4th round
play.
pick. He's still not with a 4th. He could be on the Chiefs starting role with no competition, and I still wouldn't want him in the 4th.
So what about Cam Newton getting converted to tight end because Jarrett Stidham wins the job and they don't
Did
have
you
a
see
tight
that
end?
catch he made today in practice?
I mean, that's the best thing I've seen from Cam Newton since. I don't
2015.
know when. Yeah, since that Super Bowl run.
We're gonna lose, Trev.
So, no. I mean, honestly, how much of that talking they do? So, Blake, your personal opinion, what are you thinking?
Why am I gonna tell you guys who my keepers are gonna be? I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
Just assess your players.
so
If you don't go
obviously,
Andrews, Sanders,
obviously
you're
you look
making the
at
wrong
you look at Andrews. The only thing that worries me with Andrews is tight ends past Travis Kelce, George Kittle. They can be a little sketchy. The Ravens had an outstanding season last year, but I think regression could be coming for that offense just because they were blowing up, and I don't see it lasting with how it
So what did
how
they
it kept
pass more
going.
then?
Lamar can't pass.
Didn't he lead the league in like
Jesus, that's
touchdowns,
egregious.
passing touchdowns?
He can't pass. He is not a passer. He's a run-first quarterback,
Wow, running back.
Well,
which I would be very worried if I was keeping him of injury.
Um,
Man.
Oof.
well, I mean, I think Mark Andrews, and nobody talks about this, is he's got some competition. Mark, do you have anybody that you want to talk about that might be some competition with Mark Andrews and kind of
So-
cause that regression?
I learned Mark Andrews has some health issues, and I think the backup can just swoop in at any moment and just
What is
overtake.
this person's name?
Nick Boyle. He's probably the greatest tight end ever, and he's just being shielded away. He didn't have high draft capital, so they didn't really use him. But his athleticism, his 40 time, it's just he's waiting to break out.
Do you think they traded away Hayden Hurst because Mark Andrews was struggling, but they knew Nick Boyle was coming on
I mean,
as
if
a
you
pass
look
catcher?
at the tight end usage breakdown, I mean, he's on track to have at least like maybe at 40% of the tight end usage. And
Who is this?
This is Nick Boyle.
Okay.
And then say Andrews gets hurt, forget about it. I mean, who is the Ravens' best pass catcher anyway?
Probably Nick Boyle from what I've just heard.
I mean, Mark Andrews, really. I mean, no, not Mark Andrews. Mark Ingram.
Mark
No.
Ingram's like 45 though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Mark Ingram. Marquise Brown is honestly going to be a stud this year. I really do think
Yeah,
so.
I see him
He's
having
got
a great year.
speed. What's the difference between him and Tyreek Hill? And I know it's a rhetorical, it's a crazy question. But Marquise
Success.
Brown, success.
He's a little,
and Marquise
little
Brown,
smaller.
he's a little smaller. I don't know. I think that they have pretty similar speed. I know Tyreek Hill's out of this world with his speed, but Marquise Brown's a talented route runner, and he could be the next thing. Really,
It's possible.
there's
Does
not many
anybody have-
options there.
You got Nick
Does any-
Boyle at 6'4".
Does anybody have the best
270.
comp for what was Nick Boyle's player profiler best comparison? Does anyone have a guess?
Oh man, what's the guy? Kelvin Benjamin.
No, but probably not that inaccurate. Justice Cunningham.
Who?
Justice Cunningham.
Who?
Yeah, that's. And then they had some highlights on here, and then this will get you excited. December 28th, Nick Boyle could see uptick in chances,
He's about to get 40% of the targets
and then
for tight ends.
and then the next article, Nick Boyle not likely to have a big impact. So we'll see. Back to Blake's keepers though.
Miles
Yeah, he's got
Sanders,
some options.
clearly a lock, I think. Especially after the news coming out recently.
You think?
Dougie telling Miles, "You're my guy." Time to put on his big boy pants.
Are you
So-
nervous
Aaron
Jalen
Sproles was the
Samuels
guy
might
last
get cut?
Jalen Samuels.
Yeah, he
Is
might
that-
get cut.
Is that to me? As an NC State fan?
No, it's Blake as a possible keeper.
I'm a James Conner guy. You know that.
Hey,
So
listen,
is he?
both of them
So
might
you're
be
Do
saying
playing
James
soon.
Conner is on the
Do
board?
it. Hey, you live in mediocrity. Why wouldn't you do that?
You gotta take chances sometimes for the success.
I mean, have you seen how big he got in the offseason, though? He's been working on it. He
dude,
stays
I
healthy.
love that.
Running back one.
He's a steal at the first round pick. That's a steal.
He won't come back. I'm gonna tell you that because I'm after you in the draft order most likely. We'll see how the balls fall, but yeah, some decent options for you, Blake. I wish you the best this year. Keep improving year after year. We're gonna move on to Dustin, who finished 7th last year. We got Patrick Mahomes for a 3rd, Barkley for a 1st, Kareem Hunt for an 8th, DJ Moore for a 5th, Sutton for an 8th, Hunter Henry for a 7th, T.Y. Hilton for a 2nd, Landry for a 6th, Josh Allen for an 8th, Cole Beasley for an 8th, and Mike Evans for a 1st. And honestly, a slew of options that are giving him some sort of value.
Yeah, this is the first time we're really seeing a team that has some difficult decisions in terms of knocking out their early picks. Saquon seems like a lock to Dustin, and I know it probably is, right? Because you want that cornerstone, you want that running back, but there are some serious things he could consider with his team and how he wants to build it.
Who would you take over Barkley?
So
I don't think I would. I mean,
if we're being honest,
Yeah, be honest.
Okay, so I know it would give. I'm not saying it would be dead set against it, but honestly, if you took DJ Moore with the 5th round, and you took Cortland Sutton with the 8th round pick, you've got 2 wide receivers in those first 2 rounds. You can focus on. Honestly, Saquon could fall. You don't know what running backs are going to be there. He's currently projected the 4th pick. He could have another top running back sitting right there.
James Conner might be there.
No, you'll
Joe
be surprised.
Mixon.
After we get done with this, you'll be surprised who's going to be there for him. But Saquon doesn't seem like a lock to me, and it's going to be a lock for him, which is good. That's a lost 1st round pick. I think he's got decisions. I really do. He could really change this up if he had 2 wide receivers in DJ Moore and Cortland Sutton, and you only lose a 5th and an 8th round pick. You have those first 4 round picks. It just seems like a hard decision.
and now Kareem Hunt it's ascending value after Nick Chubb was ripped today from a concussion.
Yeah,
Or
so
sure,
Chubb's out for
Dustin.
the year, right?
That's what Dustin said. He's
So-
ripped. So Kareem Hunt starting running back in the 8th round. I mean, if that actually is the case, that's not. I think
That's
Kareem
a
Hunt
lot.
was a decent pick there, anyways. Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd. I mean, he's been going in the 2nd round lately.
We know
Not
how
gonna get
Dustin
another
is with
quarterback.
quarterbacks.
I mean, he's not going to fall back. I mean, someone's got to take Mahomes early. You got to make sure you're getting those quarterbacks early.
You know,
he
he's
throws-
keeping Mahomes.
I don't know why he wouldn't.
Now
Consider it at least.
Dustin's strategy has seemed to be to go after previous year's quarterback 1, with Lamar 99.99% getting kept. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback number 2. I don't see how Dustin passes it up.
I mean, Dustin could keep Mahomes, take Kelsey, and then just have a Chiefs stack that's going to win him at least 8 games, probably.
It's a bold take for Dustin.
I mean, it's something to consider.
If Kelsey's on the
DJ
board.
Moore- If Kelsey's on the board, I apologize if I had any assumptions.
He may be waiting for this
Cole Beasley
podcast
and
to
then-
help him.
Yeah, maybe we'll release it after the draft just for that. We'll cut this out and put the second after the draft. I know Dustin's struggling. I mean, Mike Evans for a 1st. You get Brady into Tampa Bay. I mean, what if Mike Evans is the Julian Edelman or the Gronk, the old school Gronk of the Bucks, and him and Tom Brady have a connection? You don't want to miss out on that.
You don't. You
Gonna be
really
me.
don't. He's got
Sutton in the 8th.
Sutton in the 8th.
Well,
Like that's a steal.
Is
It
that a
really
steal?
is. It is.
What did
I mean,
Sutton finish
Sutton
last year?
probably
Was he in the
goes-
top 20?
he was
Doesn't matter.
QB
Top 20. You're paying an 8th round pick for him.
Yeah,
That's a flyer.
For someone that's probably going to finish just as well as Sterling Shepard.
I don't
Oh,
think
come
that's
on.
anywhere in the range of outcomes, unless he's injured.
Have you
The
seen him
only
in Madden
okay,
Sims?
the way that could
Trevor, how do you feel about Jerry Jeudy coming in with Cortland Sutton there?
that's what I was
I
gonna
think
say.
that
That's
that-
the only threat.
That's the entire problem, right? Because I won't touch that entire corpse. I really won't, because they have Jerry Jeudy. People are forgetting about what is it, KJ Hamler? You have Tim Patrick. You have Deshaun Hamilton. You've got Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant,
Melvin Gordon.
Jake Butt.
Jim Herman. You've got it's just there's an assortment of goods. They're going to be passing in their backfield. I'm not one for it, but I do think Cortland Sutton is an extremely talented wide receiver.
I mean, Jake Butt, year 3, finally healthy coming into camp, I believe. Don't sleep on it. Michigan's greatest tight end.
Jason, who are you taking in this situation?
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I'm gonna have to see where the balls fall. We got Mike Evans, we got Saquon, we got Mahomes. Those guys are gonna be hard to pass up. Just to get a stud on your team, and or do you go the cheapo option, get some late round value in Kareem Hunt, DJ Moore, and Cortland Sutton, Jarvis Landry even at the 6. You know, we got tons of guys. It just depends how the balls fall. If he gets an early pick, it's gonna probably make my pick a little different. So we'll see how Dustin decides. Cardboard Hippos. Maybe it's his year.
Does anybody want to make a Sterling Shepard Sutton bet?
Yeah. I think all 3 of us probably would, to be honest.
Right.
If we're on the Sutton side. You want to do a quarter?
You want to do a whole quarter?
I mean, I'm just trying to just put a unit on it, you know?
All right, a whole quarter. Sterling Shepard finishes better.
All right. We'll move on to Jimmy, who actually had a career best finish of 6th place. And Jimmy's keepers are pretty straightforward. Unless you could keep Galladay in the 4th, but he's got Devontae Adams in the 1st and Zeke Elliott in the 1st, which would give him the 1st and the 2nd round keeper of those 2 together. And other than that, Allen Robinson in the 6th, Matt Ryan in the 8th, Tevin Coleman in the 8th, and John Brown in the 8th. Kenny Galladay in the 4th is probably not bad if you aren't big on Zeke this year or aren't big on Adams.
I mean, if you're going value, you want Robinson and Galladay, no?
I don't know if Galladay gives you too much value. I don't know if Robinson is good at football.
You don't know who the quarterback's going to be there.
Doesn't matter. He had Mitch last year. He was like top 10.
Yeah,
No, it's really unfortunate.
If it's good,
it's really unfortunate what Jimmy's going to have to do because he's going to have to take his 1st and 2nd round pick. They're going to have to be gone. They're gone. You can take this because this is a situation where you have talent, but nothing. There's no more value behind his top talent. There's really not.
He's getting 2 first-round guys for his first 2 picks. I mean, and
that's what it is. You're getting them at value. If you take Allen Robinson, you'll kick yourself for not taking Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, Tony Pollard's breathing down Zeke's neck every day. Marlon Mack, some people have said Marlon Mack is still alive.
Nope.
He's got that option for a 3rd.
I know a guy that would trade for that.
Here's the thing, though. The Packers don't want to throw the ball.
Are we sure about that?
Look at the data from last year when they had a new coach. Rodgers did not throw that much, and when he did throw, it was to Adams most of the time. But
how many games did Adams miss?
6.
No,
it was like 4, and he played 2 as a decoy.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how Jimmy's feeling on Adams. Maybe he remembers that from last year and says, I want Robinson. But we'll see. I think we all know what we would do. I think we all know what we would do here.
It is Jimmy. We'll see what happens.
Eric's always whispering in his ear at the draft and gives him a little bit of advice. So we'll see what advice Eric's got this year for Jimmy.
Wow. And he got 5th with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're gonna move on to my team. I was 1 spot out of the playoffs last year.
So
if things roll the right way, we got a different champion in the league. I mean, but I'll let you guys say. You guys can read through my keepers and kind of decide on what you guys would do here.
What we've got here is Lamar Jackson stands out. When you first read these names, at the 8th, you get a keeper in the 8th. He drafted him last year in the 12th round. Very good job on your part. Would have made the playoffs any other team if they had that player. Nick Chubb, you would have to use a 1st round pick. Devin Singletary in 8th. Julio Jones for a 1st. Robert Woods for a 3rd. Josh Jacobs for a 2nd. David Montgomery for a 4th. D.D. Westbrook for a 6th. Robbie Anderson for a 5th. And Evan Ingram for a 5th. Now, what stands out to you two Jason, you just take a back seat here. When I read these names to you,
Someone who was buying the Jets hype. Robbie Anderson.
Singletary is extreme value in this situation.
Is he though?
Wow.
Is he even gonna have like?
So-
He's
120
going-
carries?
He's currently going
did draft-
third round, and you get him
He-
for an 8th.
Who's taking him
He
in the
is.
third? Where are you doing mocks?
What's the guy? The rookie's name is AJ Dillon, correct?
Yes.
I think.
AJ Dillon. They drafted him for a reason.
No,
He
don't
it
tell
would
him.
be-
Don't tell him. It's Zach
It would be
Moss.
Zach Moss.
Zach Moss. Okay, AJ Dillon is Green Bay Packers. So when you look at this list, one, you think like, what has this guy done with his life currently? Like, what has he done currently because he can't do much with year-long fantasy? I think it's a hard decision. And there is a hard decision because Julio Jones using a first. What is his current ADP?
First round.
Is it still a first round?
2.
I think it's the early
Second. Yeah.
Have to
Oh,
go.
second. Whoa.
Yeah, I think the only options really are Dave Montgomery for a fourth and Nick Chubb for a first. I think that's just chalked up.
Please
What do you
keep
think?
Montgomery.
Well, give us your overview of your team here, Jason.
I mean, detrimental news today with Nick Chubb being concussed. There's no way he'll be back week 1 for the first week.
After the year.
It could be out for the year. It could be severe. Robert Woods is a guy that people are sleeping on, I think, coming back into this year. I mean, last year he struggled early on because Cooper Kupp was doing really well. They had Brandon Cooks. But look at Robert Woods once Brandon Cooks went down. He's pretty good. He has a lot of touchdown positive regression coming his way. I think he scored maybe 1 touchdown last year. I don't think it's an awful situation to have Robert Woods there if you had to punt on a little bit of early value. I mean, Robbie Anderson, once him and Teddy, I mean, they're going to force feed the Temple Owls on this Panthers team. And Robbie Anderson is a Temple Owl. Matt Rule loves his former job, so I think he's going to be back hitting up Robbie Anderson a lot, so maybe not in the 5th.
Are you worried that Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel play the same position?
I personally am not, no.
Okay.
I mean, someone else might be, but it doesn't bother me.
Are you worried about there being 2 other receivers in front of him? Maybe 3?
I'm going to give you guys a little hint. I'm not going to keep Robbie Anderson.
He's not keeping Robbie.
I'm just going to let you. I was just kind of playing it off. I was trying to get some discussion going.
Are you
I'm
sure?
Sorry.
I don't know. You seem pretty
didn't mean to
sold.
go by.
You took him with a 6 last
I mean,
year.
Can you get
Singletary-
points in special teams on this team? In this league that you're in?
Yeah.
You can get special teams points? I mean, might be worth keeping.
Block
Punt
kicks.
return yards? I mean,
CMC's taking punt returns. Didn't you see the news?
I couldn't tell.
tell them
the
punt the
draft.
ball over the fence.
I mean, I've got more options than I think people think that I have. I mean, Lamar. I've heard Lamar's a bust this year, and
I hear he's
You
going
know-
to tear his ACL.
I've always said you want to be a year too early rather than a year too late. So we'll see. We'll see how I decide on Saturday afternoon.
I'm going to be honest. There's not more options than we think you have. So we can move on from your team. I think that's great. You
Please
don't
keep
have more
Montgomery.
options.
We'll see.
You
on
don't have more
Saturday.
options than you think you do.
We'll see on Saturday how my options end up being, and we'll circle back. We'll
I
circle back.
mean, I like Jackson and Woods.
Blake,
it's
clip
solid.
it. Clip it. Isn't that how they say on Twitch?
Clip it.
Sure, man.
All right.
Xbox
Remember-
for that.
We're going to jump over to the playoff teams, and this one, it could
Oh my
surprise
God,
you
this is
that
a playoff
this
team?
was a playoff team. We never know. You never know what happens. Stuff happens.
Goodness.
Someone took my spot. All right, so we got Russell Wilson for an 8th, Joe Mixon for a 2nd, Melvin Gordon for a 4th, Keenan Allen for a 1st, Diggs also for a 1st. Those were his keepers last year. He had a rough team 2 years ago. Probably still made the playoffs, but that was his best options. Darren Waller for an 8th, the self-proclaimed write-in of the draft from last year. Austin Eckler for a 6th. Dak was not drafted. Will Fuller for an 8th. Devo for an 8th. Will Fuller, man, if he stays healthy this year, Deshaun Watson's going to be hitting him up a lot.
Man, what if
Yeah.
he stayed healthy last year?
I think this is another team that has a really big decision in terms of coming last or being competitive, even though he can be competitive using 50 points a week. But if you're looking at his team, because Austin Eckler, for some reason, is an asset this year. I don't understand. He has been proven not to be a third down back, a 3-down back. It's not an option to me, but some people think it's attractive to get him in the 6th round. I don't know why. What's his current ADP?
Second, late second.
Late
Yeah.
2nd round pick for Austin Eckler. So this is somewhere where you just, it's not a place I'd want to be, is in his team currently. I really wouldn't. Russell Wilson's a lock.
Mr. Unlimited.
Teaching people to swim every day.
Now,
I mean, Trevor, I got to jump in on this Austin Eckler hate. I mean, who was the top running back before Melvin Gordon reported to?
That's fine. That's fine. You know what I attribute it to a much larger scale, because I think about Alvin Kamara, right? I don't know what he finished last year, but when he's the workhorse,
injured week 7.
When he's the workhorse, his workload is reduced so much. It really is, because he's not that kind of back. He's not. That's why he's always had to have a Mark Ingram. Now he's got a Latavius Murray. Who's going to be Austin Eckler's Latavius Murray? And will that person not be above him and he becomes that backseat guy again? I don't know if he holds first. He does not hold RB1 value. He really does not. And I will put that on the board.
I think the argument is okay that Austin Eckler might not be great. He's good value in the 6th, I think, nonetheless. But the reason I would be worried about Austin Eckler is because of the quarterback situation.
Exactly.
I think Austin Eckler's bulked up. He looks like he's a big boy now. He's not this little guy.
So is James Conner.
Yeah,
Big boy.
But I mean, if Debo was healthy and didn't get hurt and break his leg or whatever and miss weeks, I would not mind him in the 8th.
Foot fracture. I would still.
Well, yeah, I
he
said
might only
if-
miss 1 week.
Yeah, but if he's not there in camp and I don't know. I'm not.
I mean-
he's got better options than to do that.
You don't like Debo in the 8th.
Not if he's
Eckler.
injured.
Yeah, but I mean,
like-
it's only, not like a real. Not like he got injured week 1. It's a long.
You got
season.
Darren. I mean, you got Darren Waller, who
I do not see Austin passing up Darren Waller for an
I don't
8th.
think so either. But I got to bring up some concern. I mean, they brought in Jason Witten. They brought in 2 rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, there are more mouths to feed. You have to remember last year. Now, while we say those are brought in, remember what they actually had last year. Their number 1 was Tyrell Williams, right?
I think Darren Waller was considered the 1.
I'm talking wide receivers.
Yeah.
So Tyrell Williams, who was their number 2?
Hunter Renfro probably in the slot.
I think Hunter
When he
Renfrow
actually
played
came
a
in.
couple games.
Hunter Renfro in the slot. So while there are targets, there's so many targets to go around. Josh Jacobs, as much as I hear about him being involved in the passing game, I do not believe it whatsoever. I don't
But
know.
then
I
again-
think Darren Waller's safe.
Let's say it again. They brought in a bunch of running backs that are pass country backs and didn't get rid of Rashard. They didn't get rid of Zay Jones. They didn't get rid of Tyrell Williams. They brought in Witten. They had another tight end that played in 2 tight end sets that was pretty decent. I can't remember his name, and I apologize to him and his family.
Ferraio.
Foster Moreau.
Moreau. You knew it.
Yeah, I forgot it, but then you said it and it came back. I think there's a lot of mouths to feed, and I don't know if Waller is the most important mouth. They got some speedy guys on the outside. Brian Edwards, is that it?
Brian Edwards, correct? Yes,
Brian
South
Edwards.
Oh, the
He's
second
getting a lot of
coming
hype.
of Jesus.
He's getting a lot of hype, but he's very injury prone. I think Waller's still good value in the 8th, but there's concern. There's Melvin Gordon in the 4th, which is probably right at cost as
Yep.
well.
Yeah,
You have to
because
think
Struggling.
Austin-
It's like the worst running back group.
You think Austin might pass on a running back because he's going to know Marlon Mack will be out there in the draft and he can get him.
Well, he doesn't know that for sure. Jimmy could keep Marlon Mack.
Oh, God.
If Jimmy has read a certain person's thoughts on Marlon Mack, he's probably keeping Marlon Mack.
How do you feel about what's his name? Roddy Anderson getting cut today? Does that boost Joe Mixon up?
Who got cut?
Rodney Anderson
Rodney Anderson.
Oh yeah.
doesn't.
Joe Mixon
How
better.
about How about mixing in that new offense though with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins?
That'd
You're
be good.
expecting a
I'm-
high-power
I-
offense out here now.
In another
Yeah.
league, my partner drafted Joe Mixon, and I think it was one of the worst things he's ever done.
I don't hate Joe Mixon. In the
I don't
It was
South.
either.
Jason. It was Jason.
Oh,
Why is it the worst thing I've ever done?
Because I hate Joe Mixon.
Well, we could have talked about that at the time.
I'll let you have it. You know,
I
a
let you have Nick
relationship. You know,
Boyle.
you gotta pick your fights.
I let you have Nick Boyle, so we're even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Austin's got a decent amount of options. Eckler and Waller, I think, stand out as two. Mixon stands out as one. I'd like Wilson in the 8th. I don't mind it.
He's been a
probably
top
not
10
that
quarterback
cost.
past like
I mean,
5 years.
Waller and
Is that
Eckler,
that cost, Blake?
he gets so cheap. Because I mean, Eckler's a second, he's getting them for a 6th. Waller's for an 8, and he's a 5th-round pick. So I mean, he's keeping his top picks there. He's still able to stack up in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round until he actually gets to his keeper picks, and he's still getting 2 elite players.
Yeah.
And you know, another thing to look at here is the past 2 teams is the first time we're actually seeing first-round picks from the previous year, or first-round picks tagged to these guys coming off the board. And Nick Chubb, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, and Stephon Diggs. So
I would
those
say
are
Allen.
players.
I mean, Allen and Diggs are what, 4th and 5th round ADP right now? Probably.
Sure. But you
Maybe
look at the
later.
guys. It's interesting to look at the fluctuation between where guys were worth last year before this was implemented, obviously. But this is these are the guys you're looking at in the top rounds. Joe Mixon. These are your first round guys.
I mean, I think Julio Jones and Nick Chubb are going early 2nd, late 1st, probably in some situations.
Yep.
I
Not
think
in
it's still
this
hold
draft.
about the value. I mean, maybe in this draft.
No, Eric, Zaid, and Blake are picking top 3 picks. I think they're going to be gone. You know.
Oh, I'm just saying they hold value at the same area.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay. Let's move on to Colin. Top dog in the league last year. Almost took it down for Source. Took 3rd. He's got pretty decent options, but a little scarce of options. He doesn't have a lot. He's got Latavius Murray and Drew Brees and Jared Cook. Saints. He can take a Saints stack for 8th, 7th, and 8th round picks. They're all 8th round value. Amari Cooper and Kamara in the 1st. Cooper Kupp in the 4th, and Dalvin Cook in the 2nd. And OJ Howard in the 5th. So, Mark, why are you keeping OJ Howard in the 5th?
Because Bruce Arians hates tight ends, so they're gonna move Howard to the slot
Over who?
and make Gronk Scotty Mill.
Who plays in the
He's got.
I have no idea. Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin. I don't know if OJ Howard's at Chris Godwin level yet, but maybe one day.
Move Chris Godwin to the outside. You
That could be a thing.
know. I
So
could see
this
him
is
trying to
the-
keep Parker because he doesn't understand the rules.
You cannot
and-
keep Parker.
I know, but it's Colin, and he's gonna try to. And I think Cook, you gotta lock him in. 2nd round value.
Oh, Dalvin Cook or Jared Cook?
Oh, definitely not Jarrett.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
Dalvin Cook,
Dalvin Cook.
you have to lock in.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think anybody's really acknowledged the fact that Colin has kept Amari Cooper for how many years in a row? He was an AJ.
It's been a long time. I think since you won
He
your
was an
championship,
AJ Green
Trevor.
guy. So
Yeah.
he won't keep Amari for a first. But if you're looking at this as another situation where he's probably keeping Dalvin Cook for the 2nd, obviously is a lock. But he's debating between Alvin Kamara in a 1st or Cooper Kupp. I mean, which one would you do?
Cooper Kupp's really interesting here, just because they're losing Brandon Cooks. You just have Robert Woods now and Cooper Kupp. No more Gurley. I mean, I know he didn't get too many passes out of the backfield, but that offense is going to be a little bit different, I think, than what we've seen the past couple of years. But Cooper Kupp has always seemed to be a favorite target, at least.
On a different note, I know Dalvin Cook in the second is good value, but Dalvin Cook is just a guy that I cannot land on at his price in the first round. Do you guys have that same thought, or am I just like?
I missed on him last year, and I can't do it. I still can't do it. He's an injury-prone guy. He killed people who in championships last year. It's something. It's a trend. The same thing with Melvin Gordon owners. When he was like really top dog, he would be out for championship runs. It matters.
You're saying if you draft Dalvin Cook, you should draft Madison and Boone.
Boone more so than Madison, but yeah.
Oh,
Why so? Because I
Yeah, let's
saw
go
what
here on
Boone
that.
did in the championship.
Did you
I
see
was
what
not
Boone did the
impressed.
week after?
You mean week
A week that doesn't
17,
matter.
which doesn't
Against
matter?
the the Bears of Chicago.
I don't know if you know this, but the Bears defense isn't really that great anymore.
that 1 year.
Speaking of
Had that window
defenses
when
that
I
aren't
got rid of
great,
all their picks.
that Minnesota defense has had some key pieces going, so they're going to be playing from behind a lot this year.
Yeah,
Throwing
they
the
have 40
ball.
rookies on the team. They're fine.
Kirk going to be chucking that ball down. Captain
I think
Kirk.
that's a good point. I don't know. I don't land on Dalvin Cook at all. You guys know I don't like Derrick Henry, and I panically took Derrick Henry over Dalvin Cook at the 6th spot yesterday in a DraftKings best ball draft.
That's embarrassing.
I'm coming out. I'm not gonna hide it. It happened. It's not gonna happen again. But
Honestly,
yeah,
disappointing.
I can't do it. So yeah, I think for me,
So
though,
circling back to his team, he's got a hard decision that is going to sink to top. I mean, it's a second and a fourth round pick that's gone. So this format really puts you put a lot of force on those first picks if you have them, because if you miss on those, you're done.
I don't think
It just is.
I think he keeps Kamara and Cook.
Yeah,
You think so?
I think
Yeah.
so.
I think so. I think he does, but I would probably keep Kamara and Cup.
Same.
I would keep Kamara and Cup. So that's
Or Cook and Cup.
I
But I
was
could
gonna say
say-
Cook too.
I never considered it until I looked just now. I just realized like I would probably keep Cup at the 4th at that cost instead of Cook. Just me.
Interesting. Yeah. But we're talking about Colin, who's someone that's always been mediocre, is a constant donor, not someone, you worry about playing week to week. I might be undefeated against him, but it's just someone that you kind of discard to the side. He's there. So, yeah, it's a great situation.
All right, well let's move on to the runner-up from last year. Trevor, you're in the pod, so you can defend anything thrown at you today, because we do have a champion in here. But so you have some options. I mean, you got Kyler Murray in the 8th, took him the 13th last year. You got Todd Gurley in the 2nd. Can't believe whoever had him last year didn't keep him and kept Nick Chubb. That was just horrendous. Mark Ingram for a 6th, Michael Thomas for a 1st, Kelsey for a 1st, Edelman for a 3rd, Derrick Henry for a 5th, Kenyon Drake for an 8th,
Wow.
Wentz for an 8th, Christian Kirk for a 7th, and Chris Godwin for a 4th. And it pains me to admit this, Trevor, but you have the best, most luscious options that I can see.
I can't wait to see who Trevor drops.
I mean, if he doesn't keep Thomas and Godwin, what's the point? You
But
know?
he has Henry
That's
and
just-
Drake for nothing.
First off, I don't know anyone that believes in Henry. Never met a single person in my
Trevor
entire
has
life.
believed in him for
Nah.
5 years.
Except that 1 year Colin had him, or Dustin had him.
I
Good
dropped
job.
him that year. I drafted him too. I dropped him early.
Yeah.
I drafted him every
You
year.
can't resist him.
I don't think Trevor's not keeping Derrick Henry. Edelman in the 3rd is going to be hard to pass up, especially if Stidham wins a job. They're going to have connection. He's going to force you to do it offense. And I mean, even when he was hurt, he was good keeper value years ago.
Now, speaking of
Where's,
Edelman,
I'm sorry.
And I'm the biggest Godwin guy, and I don't know if I would even be considering Chris Godwin as like my top 4 keeper options on this team.
With the
I
4th
appreciate
round?
Jason, he said 4th round. I just would like to hear you say it again.
No, I would probably not take him in the 4th.
Yeah, he said no, Mark.
So if
That's just you.
Godwin was there in the 4th, you wouldn't take him.
I would take him, but I would not. I would probably take some other guys
He said
At
on
the
this current
cost.
team, Mark.
Okay, would
He
you
said on
take
this current team.
would you take Godwin over Drake?
Say that again. I mean, I do not
Would
like
you take
Kenny
Drake
Drake.
over Godwin?
I do not. I'm not big on Kenny Drake this year, but Kenny Drake in the 8th round. Kenny Drake goes like at the 16th pick. Godwin goes at like the 25th pick, maybe earlier than that.
I don't know who you take over Godwin now. I mean, you see what Edelman does in the slot.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think it was that great. I mean, what was Edelman last year? Not as good as Chris Godwin. He was not going to have as much volume on his
Yeah,
team
but
for him
Edelman
doing.
also can't stay on the field.
So I know
Godwin got hurt.
this is an anti-Henry draft podcast that I'm hearing, obviously. But can someone tell me where his ADP is?
107.
Thank God.
Jeez,
Please take
that's
him there.
enticing.
Take him.
That's
You
enticing.
could take Montgomery.
Jeez.
You could take
Okay,
Drake.
so here's the
Gurley.
thing.
Take them
Here's
all.
the thing. So if you're looking at Kyler Murray with the 8th, I think he's this year's Patrick Mahomes. Kyler Murray with the 8th round pick. And honestly, if you're thinking about it, Kenyon Drake with the 8th round pick, and I have my first 6 rounds all to myself. And I'd end up with some of these other players on my team.
All to yourself, but also with
No Michael Thomas.
most of us.
No Michael Thomas, no Travis Kelce.
You
Probably
can
no
get
Derrick
Godwin.
He can get Kelsey Godwin back. I don't know if Trevor's been the luckiest in the balls.
I'm
he's got
getting
good
first
balls.
round. I'm getting the first pick.
Yeah, I mean Trevor is usually like the 7th best team, and then he ends up like first in the overall pick.
There's
That
smoke
was not
screen
meant as
going
an
on here.
insult, but that was
There's
not
smoke
meant as an
screen going on
insult,
here.
but-
There's smoke screen, but obviously, if you're looking at this, Kenyon Drake does stand out at a value. He really does. It's hard to turn down Kenyon Drake, but I'd like to actually speak about Kenyon Drake. What is that offense really going to be now, and what is his role going to be? Because
run.
you think it's a run offense?
Well, you asked what his role was. He's a running back, so he runs.
That's great, Mark. That's great. That's great. I'm seeing your keeper options here, and I'm just laughing. So, like, literally,
Please
so
laugh.
if you think about Kenyon Drake, his role in that offense, they added DeAndre Hopkins. They have Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, who is an air raid offense guy. It's not a situation that let alone his last 2 weeks. Obviously, last 3 weeks, I didn't play in my fantasy championship. If I did, I would have won. If you look at Kenyon Drake, it's just kind of he's a running back too. He's a running back too, and you're getting him with the 8th round pick. It's a great value. If you look at that the same way, you look at Derrick Henry with the 5th round pick. It's like, why are you even someone who's guaranteed to get 15 to 20 carries a game? It's a hard decision.
And I've read Derrick Henry, like Ronald Jones, not as intensely as Ronald Jones, but he's worked on catching passes. Which, if that was true, I would change my opinion on him going forward.
So
But
Trevor,
I-
you're not looking at
It's also
Michael
not-
Thomas at all here.
It's also not 1 point PPR. Now, what'd you say, Blake?
You're not looking at Michael Thomas at all here. Record-breaking
Michael
reception
Thomas.
numbers.
It's clearly
Michael
taking Michael
Thomas.
Thomas. I mean,
Who's Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas, MT, a saint?
Is he going to keep a Saint 2
Oh,
years in a row? I don't know if that's going to happen.
Is he even a
I don't
Panthers fan
know.
at that point?
I don't have an issue leaving Michael Thomas if you're getting Derrick Henry, who goes 1 pick after Michael Thomas. I mean, you're still getting the stud player up top at a very good cost. You get the first round
ADP
pick.
only means so much. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just saying,
Oh.
like, you're getting a player comparable to where you would take Michael Thomas. You're still getting, like, the first-round value, and you have a first-round pick. Could get Michael Thomas back. Could get Travis Kelce.
I mean, Trevor can
No.
go full Cardinal stack here and keep Kyler, Kenyon, and then pick up Hopkins there later in the first round.
And I
Kirk.
have Kirk. Man, Blake might be shifting my view here. Honestly, like, I was thinking, like, keep Michael Thomas, but, like, now I'm thinking, do I just go Cardinal stack?
I mean,
I
high-powered
would have won the
offense.
championship if I played the Cardinal. Do I really go Cardinals?
you know, a lot of ifs in that statement.
Very enticing decision
I mean,
that the
so you get a
Chiefs
top 2
has to
pick.
do.
You get a
I
top
do-
2 pick. You don't keep Thomas. I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah. For sure.
And if Mike Boone's on the board, you take him no matter what.
Oh, fucking smash.
Have
So
to.
we'll move on to Mark, who has not many keeper options because his team just went through the wash and rinse cycle throughout the year, other than a couple players.
That's called strategy, but that's
It's called strat. I didn't say it wasn't.
Hey, listen.
Which we got
Yeah,
Christian
sure.
McCaffrey and
There's
Tyreek
someone in
Hill
here
as
that doesn't
keepers.
respect it.
Let me know when you're
Respect
done.
me.
I see why you laugh and say that. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mark, as long as you're done, I'll go ahead.
No, go. I'm sorry. Emotional.
We've got Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey as keepers last year. You could keep them both for a first-round value. Chris Carson for a third. Aaron Jones for a second. I feel like that's high on his ADP for last year, but I can't remember. And then you got Alexander Madison and Michael Gallup for an eighth. And I don't know how you pass up on the value of Madison, who could be the starter with Dalvin Cook holding out, and Michael Gallup, who's going to be the number 2 in a really fast-paced Dallas offense.
First off, I see how just Mark. Oh man, hold on. Hold on? Let me just pause and think about this because I'm so tied to this man because we had such a clash of teams at the end of the year, and I would just like to say that I'm appreciative that was a 1-year thing, maybe two because he did play the year before, but did he really deserve to be there? So.
Yeah.
Looking at this team and what you're going to keep, and knowing that you don't care about picks after the 4th round, I think that this is going to be a beautiful year. And regression will happen. Obviously, we know who you're keeping. It's no secret. And you've been blessed by Christian McCaffrey having Cameron Newton as his quarterback, along with Kyle Allen. And now you just are uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty come from this camp over here. There's a lot of uncertainty come from this Mark camp over here. I don't know how you feel about it. Blake, would you like to assess his keeper situation? I mean, would you keep Chris Carson?
I just want to give Mark props for winning a championship with this team because this is probably the most Mark team I've ever seen in fantasy football.
I would like to say one more thing. So if we just reverse back here, one more thing here. So if we go back to this team that we have over here, going into the championship, because I've never gotten to go, I haven't been on air being able to speak about this. Kyler Murray was injured. Hold on, let me put that in red. Kyler Murray was injured. Mark Ingram got injured. Travis Kelce was a beautiful, beautiful person. Julian Edelman was hurt going into that year, going into that game. Derrick Henry didn't play, got hurt. Like Chris Godwin didn't play, got hurt. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players going to the championship. Mark, you won't get that lucky ever again, my guy.
I don't think it's luck. I think injury happens in football, and that's why.
That's why you draft depth, and I did, but it hit me in all angles.
No, you don't draft depth. That's why you churn your roster throughout the year. That's why you're only left with 6 people.
You got to keep players fresh. You got to keep them on their toes.
If you get hurt, you're off my team, putting you down like a horse after a race.
I mean, let's be real. All these guys that sat out this week 16, they were getting too comfortable.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they sat out.
I mean, can we just talk about Tyreek Hill? 2018 was the number 1 wide receiver. 2019, Christian McCaffrey was the number 1 running back. Aaron Jones was the number 2 running back. I mean, we're blessed.
Wow, you hit on Christian McCaffrey's all I'm hearing.
I mean,
and Aaron Jones.
You got to keep 2, Mark.
And Tyreek Hill. Hey, man, if I get that first pick, we're keeping Aaron Jones and Tyreek Hill. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, if McCaffrey's doing punt returns, as ESPN Panthers beat reporter David Newton stated today, maybe.
It's like he doesn't have that job, and no one fired him.
I feel like he just missed the email, and they didn't take his credential away.
But they don't pay him though.
He reports for free.
He just still is sending like his articles to the mailroom to be posted, and they're just like,
no.
I guess we'll post free content. So, all right, well, that's that wraps up all the keepers. We're gonna have the way we do it is we got balls in a bag, reverse order. So Mark, the champion, will have 10 balls. Eric, who was last place, will have 1 ball. We'll pick the odds that way, and it kind of throws everybody off. I feel like right before the draft, if you get further back than you're predicting. So, any
It's been a lot of
thoughts?
fun. I have final thoughts. I would like to say I appreciate Blake taking on such a big responsibility in hosting the draft. on short notice, that's a big deal. And being in a household with your wife, I mean, who also has been very cool throughout the process, that's a huge deal. Not enough appreciation has been thrown your way. You've got to host a draft. You've been taking it extremely serious, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It really is. I think that this is one of the most exciting days I've looked forward to. I mean, every year. This is going to be a lot of fun. It is, and this is when two-peat champions comes into play this year, because there's only so many people that can win a championship before another one wins two. And I will be the first one, but I'm welcome to competition. You know what I'm saying?
Blake, the first title coming this year?
I think it's going to be an interesting year for sure. With the we got COVID going on, draft depth's going to be very vital. I prided myself in my draft ability, and I'm usually a pretty good drafter. It's the free agency that usually gets me. But I think with my draft strategy and just kind of going deep, I think we can take one home to the Bear Cave this year.
And what's your thoughts on actually hosting a draft?
It's really an honor. We had put in our bid earlier, and I think we had gotten pushed back maybe 2 years or so, and I really just didn't want to wait that long. I just want to be able to have my boys come over, have a good time, drink some beers, and just get this draft going, get this season kicked off. So we're going to have plenty of TVs, a lot of sports going on. Sure there'll be a lot of yelling. People might be falling asleep.
Tar on the road, though.
There will not be tar on the road.
I heard you're building a moat.
We have a little bit of flooding issues with the previous monsoons hitting. I think we're just taking warning. Speaking of, guys, we are missing the Hurricanes game right now.
And this is going to come to a close soon. Then I know Jay is going to wrap up, but I would like to point this towards Jay now. So, Jason, when your flight lands, which is what, Wednesday?
Yes.
Wednesday your flight lands, have you had a Weekend's Dad offer to stay somewhere, and is that concrete now?
I've had a lot of offers. We're still looking through the offers, and there's a lot on the table. I mean, it's a big weekend. I don't want to make a mistake and pick somewhere where I don't want to be. And
yeah. One area you could actually see, you could see some things you don't like. You could hear some maybe slurs, but I just want to know where you're actually leaning towards staying.
No, I can't reveal things that are confidential for draft day and draft weekend. We're gonna have some announcements coming the week. Trevor's trying to jump on some announcements that he knows are coming, and yeah, we'll see. We'll stay tuned to Wolfie 632-956-4832 Twitter to all Weekend Dads announcements, and the former Weekend Dads producer and statistician.
Is that the actual numbers? Because that's pretty
I feel like
He
impressive.
just got it.
I feel like the 6 is correct, but I guessed on the other 7. There's no way it's right. It sounded good though. But all right, guys, thanks a lot for jumping on. I'll see you guys on Friday or Saturday, and
Safe travels.
thanks for the donations
Safe
again
travels.
this year. First 2-time champ of the Cheeky Chinchillas. That's a wrap.
Lama Milla.
Deuces.
We're clear.
Go Canes.
Lama Milla.
What's the score, Blake?
1-0
I don't know. I haven't looked
Hurricanes.
at it.
You haven't looked at it? What are
No,
you doing?
dude.
Hurricanes are
Dude,
up.
I got so many windows going on my computer right now,
I
okay?
could see on the back wall shit happening. I don't know what it is.
Now it's not. Now I know it's not the Canes game. I'm kind of worried what Blake's looking at.
If I had anything off, my computer would just explode.
And
'Cause it's-
just so